Hello everyone, and thanks for clicking on the link and watching my review and Khan's review of the Adidas Adizero Evo SL in the special Convoy colorway here. Yep, he likes this one, I like this one too. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, and enjoy the review. And welcome to the second episode of Bound for Boston. Okay, here we have the Adidas Adizero Evo SL, and we'll talk about the specs and features. First of all, I have to say that I am a sucker for this black colorway with the white three stripes. It has a very classic look that still incorporates some of Adidas's current 2025 design language with the way these stripes come over the midsole there. But yeah, regardless of the color, I think aesthetically it's a pretty nice looking shoe. It looks good with jeans, as you'll see a little bit later. But let's talk about the specs and features. We'll start on the upper. The laces are very cheap, very thin. I can't really tell if they're going to be slick or not, but Adidas is not really known for their quality laces. That's also an easy fix if it's something you wanted to trade out. I have not traded out any of my Adidas laces so far, so we'll see if that needs to happen. The tongue is very thin. It is kind of almost like a track spike sort of tongue, similar to what you might find in the racing shoes. We'll see there is a minimal amount of padding there that will hopefully avoid some lace bite. The heel collar is more padded than I figured it would be. There's a decent amount of padding in here and a pretty rigid heel counter. There is no little like flip tab that you find on some of the racing shoes, but I don't think it's particularly needed. There is a sock liner. It is removable. I think it's got a little bit of adhesive in there, but it's also very thin. I'm just gonna leave it in there for right now. The upper is thicker of a mesh than you would find on that one-way stretch mesh on the racing models like the Adios 9 or the Adios Pro 4. It feels a lot more trainery, and the toe bumper feels like there's a lot more structure to it there. So that is the upper, and we go to the midsole. This is a 100% Lightstrike Pro midsole. And if you're watching this review, that means you've probably seen plenty of reviews of this shoe already. I can tell just by pressing it with my finger, with my thumb, that this is not the same formula of Lightstrike Pro as in the Adios Pro or the Adios 9. This is the same formula of Lightstrike Pro that is in the Adios Pro 3 or in the Boston or in some of the quote older, meaning more than a year old, Adizero models. So what that does bode well for is the durability of the midsole. The response that does come from this midsole, I haven't run in them yet, should be reliable. I don't know if there will be any break-in period like there is for the Adios Pro 3 or not, but it should last a while. There are no energy rods in here as you might find in the Adios Pro 3, and I think there might be one like stiffening shank somewhere in there. It's not visible. But we'll go to the outsole here because that's where we are right now. Continental rubber outsole on the forefoot, a very tacky continental rubber outsole, especially laterally. It's kind of uncovered right here. I'm not sure why that is. I know we are encouraged to toe off on the big toe here. I sometimes kind of twist a little bit out, so I might see this get worn down a little bit on my shoes, but that's a me thing, not an Adizero thing. The heel strips here, the two heel strips in the back on the heel, are not Continental rubber. At least they're not labeled Continental rubber. And on other colorways, they are a different color than this black. They feel similar, but in this black colorway, it's all going to kind of look the same. There is some exposed midsole here, but again, Lightstrike Pro, the Adios Pro 3 version, is pretty durable. And I think that this outsole is going to take the brunt of most of that abrasion. So the drop is 6.5 millimeter drop. There is Adidas reporting a 38.5 millimeter heel and a 32 millimeter forefoot. The weight is interesting. I weighed these at home and I had to re-weigh them 3 times because the left shoe weighed 237 grams, which is 8.3 ounces. The right shoe weighed 219 grams, which is 7.7 ounces. Yes, that is an 18-gram difference in the left to the right. And I double-checked, they are both the same size. There was nothing else stuck in there, no stuffers or anything. I mean, I see differences from left to right shoes all the time, but never that kind of quality control fail. So we'll see how they run and if I even notice that on foot, but it is worth mentioning. Okay, so let's talk about the fit of the Adidas Adizero Evo SL. I hope you guys like the carpet in my classroom. I'm just here getting some stuff over the weekend, which is why I'm in blue jeans as well. Anyway, it fits true to size, I would say. I am wearing a men's 9.5, and I have a perfect thumb width worth of room on both feet. It actually feels like there's a good amount of width in the forefoot. I'm able to splay my toes. I'm wearing toe socks under here, as I often do. So I feel like there's a whole lot of movement in there. I feel like there is not really any movement when it comes to the heel collar. I don't feel the need to lock anything down any further. It feels like a very accommodating fit for what I would presume is a workout shoe, a good trainer fit, without feeling too loose. So I would definitely go true to size. So this is about the 4th run that I am doing in the Adidas Adizero Evo SL, and it'll be a small workout of sorts. It'll be the first workout I've done in a couple of weeks because I was laid up with sickness. So it won't be too much volume, just 10 by 1 minute on, 1 minute off. That 1 minute will be maybe 5K to 3K effort. We'll see what the Evo SL feels like at a faster pace. And as you can tell by the conditions out here, it's also going to be a great test of the wet traction and how it retains or sheds water. That's time. Last rep. Just stop and walk here. Oh. Sickness really takes it out of you. Anyway, Adidas Adizero Evo SL is, well, it's not bad. It's just, it doesn't get in your way, doesn't do any extra favors. It is a good thing that it is the old version of Lightstrike Pro. If it were the newer, squishier, bouncier version, it would have been way too unstable. I don't think it's unstable, but there aren't going to be any of those poppy propulsive features like you might find on some companion trainers with a nylon plate or glass fiber rods or anything. It's still you doing the work. Nothing bad about that. It just, you need to know what you're getting when you look into this shoe. All right, more for the shoe talk later. All right, it's shoe off time. I have here the Adidas Adizero Evo SL, and the shoes against which I will be testing it in order are the 361 degrees Eleos, the Mizuno Neo Zen, the Hoka Mach 6, the Saucony Kinvara 14, the On CloudBoom Zone, and the Topo Specter 2. Most of these are performance trainers. Some of them are more in the daily trainer variety, but they all have something special about the foam. They all do not have a plate. The CloudBoom Zone has a little bit of a credit card piece of speedboard there, but for the most part it is plateless. So a lot of them have a lot in common with the Evo SL. So let's get them all on foot and see how they compare so that you can learn more about the Evo SL. All right, I have the Adidas Adizero Evo SL and the 361 degrees Eleos side by side. First impression is that the Eleos has superior lockdown, and that's something that I've said about the Eleos since I first reviewed it. The Evo SL, for a performance shoe, has a pretty spacious fit. I don't want to say sloppy, but it doesn't feel secure next to the Eleos. Could just have to be fiddling with the upper. It's better than something like the Boston or the Adios Pro 3, but even though it's lighter, I almost feel like the secureness of the Eleos offsets the 55-60 gram weight difference between the two models. They both have lively midsoles. The Eleos is actually a little bit bouncier, but the Evo SL is kind of smooth through the transition, as you'd expect that older version of Lightstrike Pro to be. All right, I've got the Evo SL and I have the Mizuno Neo Zen here. And I know that a lot of shoe reviewers have compared these two to each other side by side on their channels, and I've done my best to not watch those. Honestly, I don't know why people are choosing these to compare, other than they're both $150 in the US. And yeah, I don't know, because to me they are black and white, and that's not just to make a pun on the colorways there. The Mizuno Neo Zen is very, very bouncy, and it's fun, but it's also very unstable. I should have gone a half down, the size half down in it. The Evo SL, it's not unbouncy, but it's definitely more of a, it's less of a bouncy ride and more of a smooth ride. It seems like it's more performance oriented, whereas the Neo Zen more just feels bouncy and fun. And even though the Evo SL does not have as good a lockdown as something like the Eleos or some of the other shoes I imagine I'm going to test it against in a bit, it definitely feels more locked down and performance based than the Neo Zen. Other than that, they're $150 each. They don't have a plate. Yeah, that's what I got. All right, I've got the Evo SL here next to my tried and true trusty Hoka Mach 6. And I know you guys have seen a lot of the Mach 6 on this channel, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's a fantastic daily trainer and do-it-all shoe. So anything like the Evo SL that looks to break into that category, it's gonna have to go up against the Mach 6 at some point. So the Evo SL with the full slab of Lightstrike Pro is bouncier, does have more energy return than the Mach 6. It's a new shoe. The Mach 6 has quite a few miles on it. But the Mach 6 has a still energetic foam for an EVA. It's a supercritical EVA, and the geometry and the rocker shape of it seems to add to the smoothness that I really think I would have a hard time saying that one is smoother than the other. It's more like they are both smooth in different ways. As far as which one I would choose as a daily trainer, if I had to take it with me for a week-long trip and do all my runs in it, if you had to ask me now, I would say the Mach 6. The Mach 6 is also cheaper. It's $10 cheaper, and you can buy some colorways, I think this colorway of it, for even less right now. So it's not a knock on the Evo SL. It's just, it's hard to be more versatile than the Mach 6 in my opinion. All right, I have the Saucony Kinvara 14 here next to the Evo SL. And the Kinvara 14 is really the OG of lightweight performance trainers that don't have a plate. It was around before people started putting plates in trainers. Well, not this version, but the Kinvara line, for sure. And on my foot, the Kinvara feels more locked down. That's kind of a growing theme against the Evo SL here. But it's not as dynamic. It's lighter, but it still has a slab of regular old Power Run EVA with no outsole. The no outsole keeps it a little bit more flexible, but the Evo SL is going to be a more dynamic choice. Although I think I could use them for the same things. So I would say, if you want a super Kinvara, something like the Kinvara but a little bit more, then don't go for the Kinvara Pro. Don't go for the Endorphin Trainer. What you want is the Adidas Adizero Evo SL, because it's still more of that simplistic stripped down feeling, just using more premium parts, more higher end ingredients. Like the Lightstrike Pro midsole is really the story, I think, here. All right, here's the Adidas Adizero Evo SL and the on CloudBoom Zone, aka the most overpriced performance trainer of 2024. And I'm here to tell you that for $150 in the US, you can get a shoe that's just as good as the $210 CloudBoom Zone. And there's not a lot of difference between them. I mean, if you're looking for the differences, you can tell that the Evo SL is a little more flexible. The CloudBoom Zone is a little stiffer. Feels like it might have a little bit more of a response from that stiffness, but not enough to warrant being 140% the price of the other. The CloudBoom Zone does fit a little more securely, but the upper is fussier than the simplistic upper on the Evo SL. I would think that the Evo SL I could possibly take for runs that might last longer than 90 minutes. I don't know. I haven't done one of those for a while because I've been sick. But I know the CloudBoom Zone, with the first run I ever did in it being a long run, I found out really quickly it was not good for a long run. So with regards to versatility, value, underfoot experience, I think if you're making a choice between these two, the easy choice is the Evo SL. All right, last comparison of the day. I've got the Topo Specter 2 and the Evo SL here. And listen, I mean, I'm just gonna come out and say it. The Specter 2 is better. It just is. Now, that's for my personal preferences. I like Topo's foot shape. I like the specific lockdown that the Topo Specter has along my rear foot and midfoot with the toe splay. I like the response of the P-Bax foam and the stack of it. Very similar stack heights in these two shoes. 37 in the heel versus 38 and a half. And then this down to 32, both of them 32 in the forefoot. The Topo is heavier on paper. We're talking about 10 to 15 grams heavier. And that's if you consider the average weight of my left and right shoe in the Evo SL, because they're so different. But the Topo doesn't feel heavier. In fact, it feels lighter. It feels smoother. And it feels smoother in a way that the Mach 6 felt smoother, but with a more responsive midsole. I think anything you could do in the Evo SL, I could do in the Topo Specter 2 and probably enjoy it more. Now, I really like the Specter 2, so that's not to knock the Evo SL, but for my $150, I would buy another pair of the Specter 2. Now, we'll see. I still have a little bit more running to do in the Evo SL before I put my thoughts together for a shoe talk. But right now, I don't know.
Okay, we'll do a shoe talk now for the Adidas Adizero Evo SL. If the camera work is a little bit shaky, I'm sorry, my tripod is broken, so I'm holding the phone with my hand during the shoe talk. Anyway, the too long didn't read of it is, it's okay. It's a good quality shoe. I mean, other than the quality control issues with the left and right shoe in my pair. But I don't think there's anything special about it. It's a good price. It's pretty versatile. It's better than average, I would say. But, you know, it's sort of like the Nike Zoom Fly 6. There was a lot of hype around it, and a lot of people seem to really like this shoe, but I was not wowed by it. Now, given the two of these, I would probably choose the Evo SL over the Zoom Fly 6 because it's just fewer moving parts. And if I want something for general use that I can maybe pick up the pace in, the Evo SL would probably work for that. And this Adios Pro 3 version of the Lightstrike Pro foam is going to last a while. Now, when I did run in the rain earlier this week, I was a bit disappointed with the wet traction, and I didn't say it while I was on the run. I was having some audio issues with that GoPro, but while this thin layer of Continental rubber will nonetheless be durable, I was kind of wishing for something like Puma grip under my feet instead of what I had. Now, where would this fit in my lineup? A trainer that could do some workout paces. For a lot of people, that would be where the Zoom Fly 6, or maybe from Adidas, the Boston 12 would go. If I were to choose between the Boston 12 and the Evo SL, it would no doubt be the Evo SL, mainly because the Boston 12 is just kind of mid for me. I don't think I'm going to be putting any more money in the Boston line, because every year it seems like, oh, they've fixed it, they've made it better, and I'm like, I don't know. This is cheaper, and it's a full midsole of Lightstrike Pro instead of partially a midsole of Lightstrike Pro, and it doesn't need any glass fiber rods or anything. Now, of all the shoes that I tested this against during the shoe off, like I said, the Topo Specter 2, I think is a superior shoe, and it's the same price. So if I were going to recommend a shoe and you weren't really particular about foot shape, I would say pass on this and go for the Topo Specter 2, unless you want to wear it around casually, because this does look pretty good casually. But what this ended up feeling more like, even though I felt like it should be more like the Specter 2, is it felt more like the New Balance Rebel V4. This is a shoe I did not bring on the shoe off because this shoe is dead. It is past its running lifetime, and I now use it to walk the dog. This one will last a lot longer than the Rebel V4, but as far as a lightweight shoe that has very few moving parts, and is good to pick up the pace in, but is generally going to be a glorified trainer, I think that's where the Evo SL goes in. Is it worth the $150? Yeah. Is it worth the hype that was surrounding it? No, I really don't think it is. And I know a lot of people have had some great things to say. It's the next shoe of the year, things like that. If you're someone who doesn't buy a lot of shoes and want a one shoe does all, yeah, it might work for that. But if you're a collector and want the next best thing, it's not a must buy. It's a hyped up shoe. It's versatile, but pretty middle of the road for me. So that's my shoe review of the Adidas Adizero Evo SL. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you click like, subscribe, or share the video, ding the bell for notifications, throw a comment down there in the comment section. It'll help the algorithm. I am getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers, and I would love to get to that 1,000 subscribers before I go to Boston. I'll see you guys on the next episode.